shortly. In the meantime, I'm going to mute everybody's line just so that we can all start out on the right foot. That's a Joe. Muted right now.
Sorry. Hello, everyone.
Could you turn up your mic volume a little bit, Commissioner Roybal?
Can you hear me?
on this, or is it just going to be the screen I'm looking at now? The meeting is going to be all of us side by. Okay, then I think, yeah, I see where I got everybody up on the screen and they're all side by side. Thank you.
You're welcome.
2020 to order. Can I get a roll call
Yes, Chair Roy Ball,
here?
Commissioner Hanson,
Present.
Commissioner Hamilton,
Here.
Commissioner Garcia,
Commissioner Garcia will be joining us late.
Commissioner Moreno. Commissioner Moreno. I know he's
Commissioner Moreno. Muted.
Is that a union representative there?
Just my dog.
I saw that Commissioner Moreno was on here earlier. So shall we go with that? He is present, Chair?
Yes, I would. We'll check back and verify that later, but we do have a quorum with 3. So I'm going to go ahead and move on to.
I'm on.
Here you go. All right, Commissioner Moreno. Thank you, sir.
So you have 4 in attendance. Thank you, a quorum.
Thank you. So I'm going to go on to our Pledge of Allegiance, and I'll be leading the Pledge of Allegiance today. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We're going to go on to our state pledge, and we have our firefighter union president, Nestor Garcia.
I salute the flag of the state of
New Mexico, and the Zia symbol of perfect friendship among united cultures. Thank you, Nestor. Next, we're going to move to the moment of reflection, and it will be presented by Herrera from Public Works. He's also the president of the ASME union.
It is during our darkest moments that we must focus to see the light. Father, we pray for people who are infected with COVID-19 or facing quarantine, for people at higher risk of developing the disease, for family members adjusting to new ways of life, for business owners and families facing financial stress, for medical professionals, caregivers, and researchers responsible for fighting COVID-19, for essential employees to keep them from harm, for leaders responsible for making the decisions about COVID-19. We also pray to stop the spread of the disease. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Okay. Next, we're going to move on. Item number F, approval of the agenda. Manager Miller, do we have any changes to the agenda?
Yes, Mr. Chair, Commissioners, we do have an amended agenda that was posted on March 27th at 5:45 p.m. On the agenda, we have that was added at that time under the consent agenda. We have item 2G, which is a budget resolution adding a state appropriation to our budget. We also, under miscellaneous action items, we added item 4C, which is a contract with San Juan County for juvenile detainees, and item 4D, which is approval of the closure of the youth development facility and a YDP plan. We also have items under matters from the county attorney, item 10A, 10A 1 and 2. Actually, I think 1 was already there, but item 2. And those are under executive session. And I believe those were all the to the originally published agenda.
Okay, thank you for those changes, Manager Miller. So, do I hear, what's the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chair, this is Commissioner Hanson. I wish to move to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner Hanson. So I have a motion from Commissioner Hanson. Do I hear a second? So we have a motion from Commissioner Hanson.
This is Commissioner Hamilton, a second.
Okay, so we have a motion from Commissioner Hanson and a second from Commissioner Hamilton. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
I'm going to go through a roll call like we did similar in our last meeting. So this is Roy Ball. I'm in the affirmative. Aye. Commissioner Hamilton.
Yes. Aye.
Commissioner Hanson.
Yes. Thank you.
Commissioner Moreno.
Yes.
Okay, has Commissioner Garcia joined us yet? Okay, so we have 4 yeses. Thank you. So we have an approved agenda. Next, we're going to go on to item number G, and this is the approval of the February 2020 Board of County Commissioners meeting. I'm going to go to Commissioner Hanson. I know usually you have some corrections.
Yes. Commissioner Roybal, could I ask you to move your microphone, your video camera down so we could see your face a little bit better?
How's that?
That's better. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Okay.
I want to move to approve the minutes with changes. I have given the changes to the stenographer, and we spoke over the phone, and so she has them. So I wish to move to approve with changes.
I will second.
So we have a motion from Commissioner Hanson and a second from Commissioner Hamilton. Is there anything else under discussion? Okay, hearing nothing, no other comments. I'm going to go to Commissioner Hanson first for the vote.
Yes.
Commissioner Hamilton?
Yes.
Commissioner Moreno?
Yes.
And then myself, yes as well. So we have 4 yeses again. I'm going to check again, as I will for everything that we pass, to see if Commissioner Garcia has joined us yet. Commissioner Garcia, are you there? Okay, so motion passes 4-0. Okay, so next we're going to move on to item number H, and this is a recognition of new hires. I'm going to go to County Manager Miller.
Yes, Mr. Chair, Commissioners, in your packet in your board books, there are a list of new hires from February 1st to February 29th of 2020. I'll quickly read through those, just welcome them to the county. We have Melissa Ryan in the assessor's office, Monique Garcia in the county clerk's office. We have Devin Baldwin and Lowell Kessler in community services, and Andrew McCarthy in senior services. In corrections, we have Jesse Thompson, Kimberly Wood, Jasmine Apache, Dana Henderson, Joshua Martinez, Joshua Trujillo, and Tanner McReynolds. At our dispatch center, the Regional Emergency Communications Center, new trainees, Ricardo Aguilar Lara, Marisol Carrillo, Stephen Stearns, and Derek Solano. In Public Works Administration, we have Gomez and Ryan Ward. And in Public Works Projects and Facilities, Salgado. And in Public Works Utilities, Ira Roybal. Just like to extend a warm welcome to those new county employees.
Thank you, Manager Miller. I also want to extend a warm welcome to all of these new hire employees and just say welcome to the Santa Fe County family workforce. We all work really well together, I think, and we welcome you here and hope that you build a career with us. Do we have any? I'm going to go to every commissioner, see if there's any comments. Commissioner Hansen. Okay, I'll go to.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Roybal. This is Commissioner Hansen. I want to say yes, welcome to all our new employees, especially in this trying times. And we look forward to meeting you along the way. So welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Hansen. Commissioner Hamilton?
Yes, I just want to add my voice to welcoming everybody, especially under such difficult times. It's a very difficult time to start, but I'm sure in the long run, this will prove rewarding.
Absolutely. Thank you, Commissioner Hamilton. Commissioner Moreno, did you have any?
Yes, I want to extend my congratulations of the new hires. The Santa Fe County is a great place to work, and may your tenure be long. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Moreno. Okay, so we're going to go on to item number I, and this is on the flip side of the coin. This is a recognition of the years of service and dedication from our county employees that have served several years already, and so just. I'm going to go to County Manager Miller.
Yes, Mr. Chair. We don't have sometimes we have a big long list of them, but this month we only have 2 employees that, there it is. We had 2 employees that met their 5-year or 10-year mark, and that's in road maintenance. We have Ryan Erickson, in our Public Works Department, and his 5-year anniversary was on March 9th. And then in our Fire Department, in Fire Administration, Michael Fulner reached his 10-year anniversary on March 2nd. And just like to congratulate them and thank them for their service to Santa Fe County and its residents and for staying with the county.
Absolutely. Thank you, Manager Miller. And I couldn't express that gratitude anymore. I do just want to thank them for choosing to make a career here at Santa Fe County, and where, our employees are our biggest asset. So thank you guys very much for your dedication. I'm going to go to Commissioner Hamilton.
Well, once again, the flip side of really welcoming new people is the congratulations and appreciation for people who have started a while ago and stuck with it and contribute so well to how well the county does. And I want to congratulate these milestones and thank them for their service.
Thank you, Commissioner Hamilton. Commissioner Hansen?
Thank you, Commissioner, Mr. Chair. Congratulations to our 2 people in road and fire, Michael and Ryan. Thank you for your service, and we'll see you around the block.
Thank you, Commissioner Hansen. Commissioner Moreno?
Just relay my congratulations to the honorees on their service to the citizens of the great county of Santa Fe. Thank you.
Commissioner Moreno. Okay, next we're going to move on to our next item, and it's our consent agenda. So I'm going to go to Manager Miller and ask for her to read off every one of these items, just so the public, for the edification of the public to be able to hear. So if you could read off every item on the consent agenda, Manager Miller.
Yes, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. So items that we have on consent are a request to approve our county healthcare assistance claims in the amount of $560.59. And that is to Southwest Care Center for 8 invoices. Then also we have a resolution requesting a budget increase to the law enforcement operational fund in the amount of $183,699. And that is to replace vehicles that were accidents last year and were totaled. I'd just like to point out most of those were not the fault of our officers, to replace those 4 vehicles. On item C, it's also a resolution, and it's accepting a 19-D3405 for the Zaffarano Drive construction project. This grant was already approved and accepted by the county commission at a previous meeting. Transportation has asked that we pass a resolution. So this resolution is a ratification of the action that you already took at a previous meeting. Item D is also a resolution authorizing the disposition of fixed assets that are worth less than $5,000 each in accordance with state statute. This is to surplus the furniture and fixtures and items that remain at our community services department off of Galisteo, where their offices were. And that's in order to auction those items off, that we can then renovate that facility for our crisis triage center, our behavioral health crisis triage center. Item E is also a resolution requesting an increase to the lodgers tax facility fund and the lodgers tax advertising fund, and in the amount of $110,000. And this is to fund our existing contract and purchase our visitors guide, make sure that we have plenty of visitors guides available when all of the facilities and hotels reopen, and also to do a funding round to advertise events that may occur later this summer when we get hopefully back to normal. Item F is the final order in case number 19-5160 for the Calibre subdivision. This is it was formerly known as the Turquoise Trail North subdivision. Phase 1 and Phase 2 preliminary plat approval and Phase 1 final plat approval.
Madam,
Commissioner Moreno?
Mr.
Commissioner
Chair.
Moreno, we can go back to that when we, let me just read the last item.
Okay.
Okay, I'll come back to you for comment, Commissioner Moreno. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
And then item G is a resolution requesting a budget increase to the state special appropriations fund 318 for the state grant that we received as a result of the last legislative session for census outreach in the amount of $137,924. Those are all the items. And I did want to note, Mr. Chair, that Commissioner Moreno did have a comment on item F.
Yes, the final order in case. Commissioner Moreno?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. About a year ago, we met residents of the Phase 1 residents in the Calibre development, and a number of residents in that area there have had serious issues having to do with inadequate parking spaces. A number of people noted that a lot of the residents have to put their vehicles in their yards, and I think it's kind of a touch. She says assistant. I'm sorry. and I want to register that please make accommodation for more parking and access through the development.
Okay, I'm sorry. Was that it, Commissioner Moreno?
Yes, that's it.
Okay, thank you for those comments, Commissioner Moreno. I think that you've definitely participated quite a bit in this.
Chair Roybal?
Yes.
I wonder if I have a question on item B, so I don't know if that might be one we want to pull off and discuss separately.
Absolutely, we haven't had a motion yet. So if you'd like to pull item B, we can pull item B and have more discussion. Are there any other items that we have comments for or that commissioners would like pulled for clarification? Okay, hearing none, we're going to go ahead and pull item number B so that we could get additional information. With that item, what's the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chair, this is Commissioner Hanson. I would like to move to approve with item B removed.
I'd second.
So we have a motion from Commissioner Hanson and a second from Commissioner Hamilton. All those in favor, I'm going to go to Commissioner Hanson first.
Mr. Chair, I vote yes.
Commissioner Hamilton?
Yes.
Commissioner Moreno?
Yes.
And I too will vote yes. Is Commissioner Garcia on the line yet?
Has left the meeting.
So we have a 4-0 approval for this one. Madam Clerk, do we have resolution numbers on any of these? If you can give them to us, please.
Okay. Chair Roybal? Okay, I'm on now. Yes, if we skip 2B,
yes,
then we go on to 2C. In sequential order, the resolutions you just passed is beginning with C, 25, 2020, 25, 2020, 26, 2020, 27, and 2020, 28.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to go ahead and go back to the item that was pulled earlier. And that's going to be a resolution requesting a budget increase to law enforcement operational funds in the amount of $183, $699. I'm going to go to Commissioner Hamilton to address her questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The question just had to do with the numbers that didn't seem to add up. I don't have a problem with the principle of what they're trying to accomplish, but the total amount is $185,000 plus dollars, or $183,000. And it implies, it sounds like they're going to replace 2 vehicles, but the numbers that were given for replacement costs and attachments A and B, those were reasonable, but attachment A gave costs for 2 vehicles, which the total was $78,000. It was $39 something per. Attachment B was for 1 vehicle at $39,000. So even, and together those 3 add up to $118,000. If they're replacing 4 vehicles, it would be between $150,000 and $160,000. So I'm wondering where the 183 comes from, and if we're and how many vehicles we're replacing. Just for clarity. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Hamilton.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Hamilton. So, while I believe that the actual resolution states they're replacing 2 vehicles, if you look at all of the quotes that are attached, so they had 4 vehicles that were in accidents. I believe 3 of those were caused by incidents not at our deputy's fault, and 1 I think might have been a deputy's fault. But there's there's two different kinds of vehicles. There's the interceptor vehicles, and then there's also further back in the quotes, there's two other vehicles, and that's a 3/4 ton long bed crew 4x4, and then you have to purchase all of their equipment that goes on them, light bars, computers, everything that goes on them. And I believe that each of the vehicles end up, by the time you do all that, running in the high 80s. But what we can do prior to the purchase of anything is just make sure that it all correctly adds up to what's being budgeted and that the money isn't spent for anything but replacing the vehicles that were in an accident.
Well, thank you, Manager Miller. But I did look at the estimates, and I understand maybe some of the extras were not included, but there were quite a few extras included, specified in the estimates. Like I said, there were estimates for 3 vehicles. They said they're replacing 2. The estimates that were presented look totally reasonable. It just doesn't all add up. And so I have no problem with approving replacement of the vehicles and have no problem with the estimates provided in attachment A and attachment B, but I do have a problem approving an amount that I can't reconstruct from the attachments. So, especially given that it said 2 vehicles, which I don't think was accurate.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Hamilton, I would just propose to table this item to the next meeting until all the numbers reconcile.
I have no problem with that. I'd love to be able to approve it. I just feel like it should be accurate. And they clearly need them,
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Hamilton, I would agree with you, and we'll just pull it until it reconciles. 2 weeks is going to make a difference.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and that was a good point to bring up, Commissioner Hamilton. Appreciate you bringing that forward. So do you want a motion in regards to that to table it to our next BCC meeting, Commissioner Hamilton?
Sure, I'll make a motion to table just to revise the numbers appropriately.
Okay, so I have a motion from
Second.
I have a motion from Commissioner Hamilton and a second from Commissioner Hansen. Go to a roll call. Commissioner Hamilton?
Yes. With apologies to the sheriff for the delay.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Hansen?
She's muted.
Commissioner Hansen?
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Hamilton, for catching this. And also, I have no problem with approving this. I would like to make sure the numbers agree.
Okay, Commissioner Moreno?
Yes.
Thank you, Commissioner Moreno. And I'm a yes as well. So I do want to check one more time. Is Commissioner Garcia on the line yet? No? Okay, so we have a 4-0 vote to table this into our next BCC meeting. So we're going to go ahead and move on to our next agenda item. And so next we're going to go on to appointments, reappointments, and we have 3A, and this is a request approval of board members to the Santa Fe County Valuation Protest Board. From the County Manager's Office, we have Lisa Katanik.
Yes, thank you, Chairman Roy Ball, Commissioners. I hope you can hear me okay this afternoon. The Santa Fe County Valuation Protest Board consists of volunteers appointed by the Board of County Commissioners to hear property tax valuation protests. The Valuation Protest Board consists of volunteers that examine and rule on property tax valuation protests. It is comprised of 2 board members and 2 alternates. 1 member and 1 alternate must demonstrate experience in the field of property valuation. The protest board members are appointed for 2-year terms by the Santa Fe County Board of County Commissioners, and members shall not be employed by the state of New Mexico, a political subdivision, or a school district, and shall not hold an elected public office and be registered to vote in Santa Fe County. Board member positions are assigned by district, are not assigned by district, but are countywide board members. Members must reside within Santa Fe County. Santa Fe County currently has 3 board member position appointments for consideration. 1 primary board member requiring valuation experience, 1 alternate board member requiring valuation experience, and 1 alternate board member not requiring experience. The board member required experience previously held by Ms. Agnes Leyba Cruz, who was appointed by the County Commission. Ms. Leyba Cruz completed her term. The alternate board member requiring experience was held by Ms. Suzanne Taylor, who was appointed by the Board of County Commissioners for a 2-year term from January 2018 to January 12, 2020. The alternate board member not requiring experience was held by Mr. Patrick Murphy, who also was appointed for a 2-year term from January 2018 to January 12, 2020. The term of these board members will be from March 31st, 2020 to March 31st, 2022. Santa Fe County advertised the board member positions for the Valuation Protest Board 2 times, on July the 31st, as well as on February 7th, 2020. Staff has received letters of interest and resumes and all mandatory forms from the following individuals for the board member requiring valuation experience. Those members are Ms. Suzanne Taylor and Ms. Lisa Blum. Staff has received letters of interest and resumes and all mandatory forms from the following individuals for the alternate board member not requiring valuation experience. Those are 1, Mr. Paul Early, 2, Ms. Jan Gill, 3, Mr. Richard Herman, and 4, Mr. Thomas Quaid. The recommended action is to appoint Ms. Suzanne Taylor to the primary board member position requiring valuation experience, as Ms. Taylor previously served in the alternate board member position, and to appoint Ms. Lisa Blum to serve as the alternate board member requiring valuation experience. Now, all applicants that applied for the alternate board member position not requiring valuation experience are very qualified individuals with diverse backgrounds that would like to serve their community and have an opportunity to serve on this board. The recommendation is to appoint Mr. Paul Early for the alternate board member position not requiring valuation experience. I stand for any questions.
Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Hanson, go ahead.
I would like to appoint Ms. Suzanne Taylor to the primary board position and Ms. Lisa Blum to serve as the alternate board member, and to appoint Mr. Paul Early for the alternate board member position.
Mr. Chair, I'll second.
So we have a motion from Commissioner Hanson and a second from Commissioner Hamilton. So roll call, I'll go to Commissioner Hanson first.
Yes.
Commissioner Hamilton?
Yes.
Commissioner Moreno?
Yes.
Commissioner Garcia, welcome. Okay, I am a yes as well. So the motion passes 4-0. Okay, thank you, Lisa.
Thank you so much, commissioners.
Mr.
Okay.
Chair,
Yes.
Commissioner Garcia is showing on the participant list.
Okay, Commissioner Garcia, did you have a vote? I think you might be on mute.
Actually, can you hear me? I actually vote yes.
Yes, yeah, we can hear you, Commissioner Garcia. Welcome, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, so that was item number 3. Go to number 4A, which is miscellaneous items. The first one is request approval of construction agreement number 2020-0141, Public Works between Santa Fe County and Anissa Construction Incorporated in the amount of $605,000 exclusive of NMGRT for the construction of the apparatus bay and the storage room at the El Dorado Fire Station, and authorization for the county manager to execute order from our purchasing division. We have Mr. Bill Taylor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon, commissioners. This is Bill Taylor with Purchasing Division. This is a construction contract. Can everyone hear me fine? This is a construction contract for an additional 1,550 square foot addition with the apparatus base and storage room. It also includes the overhead doors, new heating, exhaust, filtration, new metal signage. Part of the project is also to replace an existing septic system with a new septic system and adjust asphalt driveway around the new bay doors and water retention. The construction schedule is for substantial completion is projected to be 180 working days. Purchasing received 4 bids for this project. All were within close proximity on bid amounts. It was a good bid. And with that, Mr. Chair, I will stand for any questions. And I believe Chief Litzenberg is also available for any questions.
Okay, Mr. Taylor, do we have any questions for Mr. Taylor and Mr. Litzenberg from the commissioners?
Mr. Chair, this is Commissioner Hamilton.
Okay, Commissioner Hamilton.
I do have a question, but I would like to move to approve this. My question, when we're under discussion, has to do with how they think this will proceed under current restrictions if they foresee any problems.
Mr. Chair,
motion.
I would.
Commissioner Hanson, let's see if we can get an answer for Commissioner Hamilton's question first.
Well, don't you want a second?
Yeah, you want a second.
Sure, you can second. So we'll have
and I have a question or comment also.
Okay, so I'll go to each commissioner individually. So first we have a motion from Commissioner Hamilton and a second from Commissioner Hanson. I'm going to go back to Commissioner Hamilton to see if we can get her question answered.
Thank you. So the question is, under the current restrictions with respect to coronavirus, does anybody anticipate substantial problems with undertaking the construction?
Mr. Chair, this is Bill Taylor. From what we've seen, the construction industry is operating as usual. You do see some construction sites in town now that appear to be shut down. So it's what we understand from Anissa Construction that they are proceed with construction schedule that they submitted on the bid. And so we don't anticipate any restriction to the construction schedule due to the COVID-19 from what we've seen in the current construction industry.
Well, thank you, Mr. Taylor. That sounds good, though I would wonder if we should anticipate in the contract the potential for something to come up. Not construction's considered essential, and so I know that this might be unnecessary, but
I understand, Mr. Chair and Commissioner Hamilton. That's our contracts contain terms and conditions and general conditions for contracts for any kind of schedule changes, adjustments, change orders for those type of things. So the contracts have those terms and opportunities in there to manage the project accordingly.
Thank you.
Okay, do we have any other comments? Commissioner Garcia, did you have a comment?
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Hanson, go ahead.
So one of the many complaints that I have received over the last couple of days is that construction companies and workers are not observing social distancing and are not wearing masks and are not wearing gloves. So I don't know if this is something we need to have as a policy that construction workers are abiding by these rules, even though it's an essential business. I did have a construction worker happen to have to come to my house last week, and they wore masks and gloves, and they limited their time in my house. So I think that is something that we have to look at in this day and age.
Okay.
And then my one other comment is that when we're going out to bid, I'm hoping that, solar, if it is feasible and part of the project, and would be included as part of the bid process.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Hanson, absolutely. That's noted. We've had continued discussion with our departments, our customer agencies, and that is the direction that we've been given and will be included absolutely in new construction of facilities based on, the feasibility, the funding available for that. But it will be part of the design and cost estimation for the project.
Thank you very much. And then also, I just wanted to make sure about the mask and the gloves.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Hanson, we can direct the general contractor to, as much as possible, to follow the protocol for distancing and combating the spread, but it is the responsibility of the contractor, by submitting his responsive bid, that they are going to conduct themselves according to the standards of the construction site, and we'll emphasize that to them. So, PJ, if you wanted to add anything to that as project manager, possibly.
I think that since it's a directive from the governor, we're just trying to follow that protocol.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Hanson, I think that's a request that we can make to all of our general contractors to follow that. I can send out part of this notice to proceed with other construction that's going on.
Thank you very much, PJ. Nice to see you.
You too.
Okay, was that it, Commissioner Hanson? Commissioner Hanson, was that it?
Yes, that was all I had. I had muted myself already, so thank you.
Yeah, it's hard to get used to, but thank you, Commissioner Hanson. Great. Or Commissioner Garcia, did you have any comments?
Just really quick, Mr. Chairman, thank you. I understand the whole solar stuff. We've talked about this. Every single project that comes up is regarding solar. I'm sure staff is actually on that. Every time we go out to bid, I understand that. In regards to the question I have is, the contractor is going to take over that site. So it's his responsibility to make sure he's following the guidelines that we have throughout the government. So I hope he will do that, because we don't want to get meddled into what the contractor is actually doing, but I understand it. Just another thing is it's a small little addition. Why the duration of 180 days? Nonetheless, it already went out to bid, but those are just concerns I have. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Garcia. Do we have an answer for that?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Garcia, because of the relocation of the septic tank leach field, it's going to take a little bit of time to get that moved before we can actually start construction on the footings for the addition.
That's fine. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your comments. Commissioner Moreno, did you have anything to add, sir? Questions, comments?
Yeah, yeah. That firehouse is in my district, and it needed some work, and I'm the folks who work there, train over there. I've been in their facility. I think it needs to be rehabbed, and I'm happy to support the project.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner. Okay, thank you again to Mr. Taylor and Mr. Montano. I think that we have a motion and a second already, so all those in favor, I'm going to go to a roll call. Commissioner Garcia?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Hamilton?
Yes.
Commissioner Hansen?
Yes.
Commissioner Moreno?
Yes.
And a yes from me as well, so you have a 5-0 vote. The motion passes unanimously. Okay, so we're going to go on to our next one. And I believe this is item number 4B. And this is a request, approval, and amendment of number 5 to lease agreement 2010-0447-CSD between Santa Fe County and Santa Fe Mountain Center Incorporated for the lease of office space and property at 1160 Parkway Drive in Santa Fe. This is the authorization for submittal for amendment number 5 to the State Board of Finance and approval. And from Public Works, we have Scott Caseman, is that correct?
Yes, good afternoon, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. This is Scott Caseman, the county's real property supervisor. This item is requesting number 5 to a lease agreement between the county and Santa Fe Mountain Center. This amendment increases the annual rent from $10 per square foot to $12 per square foot annually. This increase is based on a market rent appraisal completed on September 17th, 2019, as required by the Department of Finance and Administration. If the board approves the amendment, it will be submitted to the DFA for final approval and execution. With that, I'll stand for questions.
Mr. Chair, this is Rudy. Hello?
We can hear you, but.
Okay, Mr. Chair, just really quick, I'd like to recuse myself from this. I actually sit on the board of the Santa Fe Mountain Center, so I'd like to recuse myself, even though if I do make a vote on this, I actually feel that I have the ability to make an actual vote, but I would just like this time to recuse myself from this vote. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Hamilton, I have a question.
Commissioner Hamilton, go ahead.
Thank you. The question is that the market appraisal was done last year. This all makes total sense. What I'm wondering is, in general, we're now moving into a real economic downturn, so we're about to approve an agreement, which I'm sure we have to do, but still, at some point, we're going to have we have to think about this sort of thing. We're about to approve an agreement that has an assessment from last year moving in, that's going to hold us in the future through a pretty big market downturn. And, you know, this kind of thing will, in a matter of months, potentially impact valuations of things. And I wonder, just to have a little discussion on how and when it's appropriate to consider that sort of thing.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, Mr. Chair,
I'm sorry, who's this?
This is Rudy.
Hey.
So just really quick, I certainly understand what Commissioner Hamilton is actually asking, and you know, it's the day-by-day moving target, which we're all doing, and you know, we're paying $12 a month. If we can't afford $12 a month to actually from this organization that actually does excellent, tremendous stuff throughout the community, then we should evaluate every single thing that we have going for us. That's just my comment on that. But I appreciate Commissioner Hamilton's
Commissioner, I understand that. I don't have a problem with this explicitly. And with all respect, I want to point out that you recused yourself. So I was actually looking from it from a technical point of view, perhaps Manager Miller.
Commissioner Hamilton, so we built that facility, and its intended use as the we're required by state law to go get a market appraisal, and we can extend our lease year by year. This is a payment that comes to us, not a payment that we make to them. We own the facility, and then they lease from us. My anticipation would be that if this is too much money for them to pay to us, they would come back and request some relief from the county. But I think in order to extend the lease so that they can stay in the facility, we're complying with state law and state Board of Finance rules as to how we extend this lease with them.
Absolutely, I understand that, and I want to emphasize I don't have a problem with our whatsoever with our arrangement with them. And I asked the question partly because like fairness goes in both directions, and I was wondering whether there are particular thinking about that sort of thing. So it was meant as sort of a broader question moving forward.
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, this is Greg Schaefer, County Attorney speaking. I think it's a very timely question to ask. I think, however, anytime that you set rent for a 5-year period, you're accepting market risk, either positive or negative. And so I think that that's the basic premise of doing the market rate evaluation every 5 years, is that we'll live with the results.
Thank you very much, Mr. Schaefer. That makes sense to me. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Commissioner Hamilton. Are there any other comments from the board?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Hanson, I'll go to Commissioner.
So I just wanted to point out that this is $12 per square foot for 3,677 square feet of usable building area, which means that their annual rent is $44,124. So that is what we are approving for their annual rent. And I just wanted to be clear about that. I do also understand Commissioner Hamilton's issue and concern about the rent and I think that maybe DFA has to also chime in because all these contracts have to go.
Just really quick, I understand the commissioner's concerns, and I think we should dedicate $4,000. I didn't look at it from that perspective as into whether we can reevaluate this throughout the coming years, because we don't know where we are tomorrow. We don't know what we're going to do next month. So I would hope that'd be in the contract.
So I believe that the 44,124 is per year, and this is a 5-year lease. So that would be 44,124 per year for 5 years. That not correct?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just being clear so that I see you, Bill. Do you have something to say?
Thank you, Commissioner Hanson. Did Commissioner Moreno, did you have a comment as well?
No.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, this is Greg Schaefer again. If I could just address the question relative to term, as I understand it, the lease is a long-term lease that goes through June 30th of 2034. As a condition of the approval of such a long term, the Board of Finance required the 5-year market rate adjustment. Again, some years or some cycles that will benefit the county as lessor. Some years and some cycles that will benefit the lessee. For example, I think it stands to reason that market rates were increasing over the last 5 years, and we were facing a rent based upon a market rent appraisal that was done when the times were not so good. So again, I think that's inherent in the structure and nature of such a long-term lease. I hope that clarifies what's in the actual document and the parties' agreement.
Thank you.
It does for me, and as I said before.
Is this Commissioner Hanson? Okay.
That was Commissioner Hamilton, sorry.
Oh, Hamilton. Okay.
Yeah, I'm also good. Don't we have do we have a motion to approve?
We do not have a motion yet.
So I would like to make a motion to approve.
We have a motion from Commissioner Hanson, and it sounded like a second from Commissioner Moreno. Is that correct?
No, from Commissioner Hamilton.
Or both? So we have multiple seconds.
Oh.
Thank you. Okay. So all those in favor signify by saying yes when I call on you. Commissioner Hamilton?
Yes.
Commissioner Hanson?
Yes, thank you very much.
Commissioner Moreno?
Yes.
Commissioner Garcia? Oh, Commissioner Garcia recused himself from this vote, and I will vote again.
Just for the future, I'm recusing myself for this vote only on this topic. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Garcia. Okay, so we have a motion of 4, 1 abstention. Okay, so we're gonna move item, and it's item number 4C, and this is a request. Somebody needs to mute their phone. Indefinite quantity contract number 2020-0154-CORR between Santa Fe County, San Juan County for the housing of juvenile detainee agreement 2020-0154-CORR, and authorization for the county manager to sign purchase orders. And from the Public Safety Department, we have the esteemed Pablo Cedillo.
Mr. Chair, this is Rudy. I have a question.
Commissioner Garcia, go ahead.
just whoever's running the audio, can everybody in the background please have your phone muted? There's a lot of distortion in the background. And then secondly, can we keep the agenda on the main page here instead of putting the main picture of each commissioner up there? If we can have the commissioners on the right-hand side and have the main agenda always broadcast in front of us, please. That makes sense for everybody, because I keep seeing commissioners come back and forth as the main page, but I would like to see the agenda at all time on the main page, please, if it's possible. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Garcia. I'm not sure if that's a possibility. I'm not sure. We'd have to check with IT. But I'm okay with that request as long as the rest of the commissioners are. Or getting that distortion again in the background.
Their device that has this open. That's what that whining noise is. You have either two computers too close together, or a computer on a phone with the both keyed into the meeting. So if you can all check and make sure that, you mute when you're not speaking, and also that you don't have two electronic devices with this web meeting open near each other.
Thank you, Manager Miller. I'm actually having a little bit of issues with my mute too. It keeps going off and on by itself. Anyway, we are going to Pablo Cedillo. Is he available?
Yes, I am. Good afternoon.
Hold on just a minute. Let's see if we can figure out what's going on with the audio.
Mr. Chair? Might be something, because what Tessa has done is muted everybody, and when you come off of it, that's that sound. I don't know if you have something giving feedback in your area.
No, I don't have anything else. See, let me see if I was muted there and it's still doing it, Catherine.
Okay, everyone, this is Tessa. Just to test it out, I'm going to mute all one more time. Okay, Chair Roybal, you're unmuted.
Okay. Okay, so we're going to go to Pablo Cedillo.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the commission. I'm here to talk a little bit about...
Mr. Chair, but Pablo, is your computer, I believe it's you that's causing the feedback. Is your computer near somebody else's computer that has the WebEx open?
Absolutely not.
Do you have something that could be causing that feedback? Because when your mic opened is when it started.
Well, I've been hearing it all through the meeting. Is my volume up too much, or?
It could be.
How about if I move back?
That might work. Try speaking now.
Okay, how's that?
It's still there a little bit, but that's better.
Try to.
Okay, testing 1, 2, 3. Is that better?
Yes.
Can you hear me? Because it's pretty low.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the commission. San Juan County has agreed to enter into a contract number 2020-0154-CORR to house Santa Fe County juvenile detainees in their juvenile service center known as San Juan County Facility. The terms of the contract are for an indefinite number of youth detainees subject to space availability and for an indefinite number of bed days. A bed day is any day where Santa Fe County youth detainee is housed at the Santa Fe County facility at the San Juan facility for the entire day or a fraction thereof. San Juan County will provide housing, food, and medical care to the detainees at the facility, subject to the terms and conditions of the contract. Term of the contract is from April 1, 2020 to March 31st, 2021, and the contract may be extended for an additional annual periods by mutual consent. The cost per day is $225. Santa Fe County is also responsible for the cost of medical expenses of its youth detainees housed at San Juan facility. The contract is for an indefinite quantity and therefore requires the approval of Santa Fe County Board of County Commissioners. The contract is necessary for two independent reasons. First, during the COVID-19 emergency, the county may need to house adults from the Adult Detention Facility, ADF, at the Youth Development Program, YDP facility. This could allow for greater distancing of adults in isolation or quarantine status in the presumptively healthy population at ADF. Adults cannot be housed in the same facility as juveniles. It thus may be necessary to move Santa Fe County youth detainees to the San Juan facility during the COVID-19 emergency. In fact, youth could be moved to the San Juan facility in advance of the YDP facility being used to house adults, so as to free up nursing resources and to make the YDP facility ready to house adults. It is important to note that due to the COVID-19 emergency, there is no in-person visitation at either ADF or YDP. Consequently, housing youth detainees at San Juan facility will not deprive such youth of in-person visitation that they would have if housed at YDP. Second, should the Board of County Commissioners decide to permanently close YDP, it would be necessary for the county to have one or more alternative facilities at which to house its youth detainees. San Juan County has indicated a willingness to house all of our youth detainees, as well as to explore a guaranteed bed day contract with Santa Fe County in the future after it has some months of experience with our population. Approval of the indefinite quantity contract number 2020-0154-CORR has authorization for the county manager to sign the purchase orders. I'll stand for questions.
Thank you, Mr. Cedillo. Do we have questions from the commissioners?
Mr. Chair?
Yes, Commissioner Hanson.
So I just want to point out that up here earlier in the contract or in the comments, it says that San Juan County will be responsible for providing food, the second paragraph, and medical care to detainees. And then it says that later on that Santa Fe County is responsible for all medical expenses. So possibly medical care needs to be, they will provide medical care, but we will be, is what it's saying is we will be responsible for the cost of medical care, right?
Mr. Chair?
Manager Miller?
So this is similar to how we handle housing inmates for other jurisdictions. We provide medical within the facility. We have medical staff. And so that medical care is included in the per diem. However, if a juvenile has to go out for dental work or go to the hospital or to some other medical provider, the San Juan County will take them and make sure that they have that medical care provided, but they will pass that bill on to us. And that's pretty standard for how it works in detention contracts. So the basic medical care that's included within the facility is covered in the per diem. But if there's additional medical care, we'll make sure that the juvenile gets that care, but the county would be billed that extra cost.
Okay, with that, thank you, Manager Miller. I would like to move approval of contract number 2020-0154-CCORR/TRV and authorization for the county manager to sign the purchase order.
I would second.
A motion from Commissioner Hanson and a second from Commissioner Hamilton. Anything else under discussion? Okay, so I'm going to go to a roll call vote. I'll go to Commissioner Garcia.
Mr. Chair, I have some questions.
Okay, Commissioner Garcia.
I guess I'm just thinking a little bit more into detail. We're actually closing our juvenile facility, and just with a quick motion, and I guess some of the questions I have is, all of a sudden, because of the virus came about, it seems like the reason Director Cedillo read as into now this is why we're closing the juvenile facilities, because we have to move all the adults to the YDP. I'm like, this is the first I hear about that. And then also in regards to travel, so let's assume we have 10 juveniles in our facility right now. And 3 of them, let's just do easy math. 2 of them are actually from Santa Fe County, and the others are from Taos, and the others are from Native Americans. So who's going to pay for the travel for all 10 people to transfer them to San Juan? Does somebody check with the sheriff on this, or who's transporting these juveniles? Are we just responsible for paying for the 2 or for the juveniles that are from Santa Fe County, or are we responsible for everybody that we've held, the 8 or 10 individuals that are not Santa Fe County?
Mr. Chair?
Manager Miller?
So to Mr. Chair, Commissioner Garcia, to the first question about all of a sudden bringing this forward and asking for this contract, it doesn't have anything to do with COVID-19. If you recall, in January, before any cases of COVID-19 were in New Mexico, this was brought forward to the board as a request that we would be bringing back to the board. One of the first, and that's to close the YDP. This particular item that we're on right now is not the discussion on whether to close the YDP. It is merely to request approval of a contract with San Juan County so that we have a place to take our juveniles. Regardless of whether you choose to close the facility or not, it is an opportunity for us to have a backup facility to our existing facility. In the event that we could potentially use our facility for something else. Also, we have not had, since that meeting in January with the Board of County Commissioners, when we discussed this, we told you that staffing was incredibly low at the facility, and we've been unable to staff the facility up to what I'll call a long-term adequate staffing. And we've been actually borrowing detention officers from the adult facility in order to cover staffing at the juvenile facility for the last 3 months. So we could potentially need just to house our juveniles somewhere else, whether you make the decision long-term to close our facility. This would provide that opportunity for us. If we don't take a single juvenile up there, we don't pay anything. And if we take 1 juvenile or 5 juveniles, we pay the same rate per day per juvenile at that facility. Secondly, in January, when we did talk about the potential of closing our facility, one of the things we said is we would not want to put the burden on the sheriff's office and the deputies. So we would actually hire our own detention officers and convert some of the positions we currently have to taking juvenile detainees up to San Juan County, and those would be Santa Fe County juveniles. We also have not had other entities in our facility. We used to have a couple of U.S. Marshals juveniles. They have since moved. Rio Arriba County, we have one juvenile from Rio Arriba County, but we have not been taking Taos County or any of the other entities' juveniles for at least the past month, if not longer, because we did not have the staff to take care of additional juveniles. So, for instance, I believe today's population is 3 Santa Fe County juveniles and 1 Rio Arriba County juvenile. I believe that's pretty much what it's been for the better part of a month. It costs us over $2.5 million to keep that facility open. And what we had indicated to the board back in January, if we closed the facility and housed our juveniles at either Bernalillo County or San Juan County, we would save approximately $1.5 to $1.7 million a year. So the contract in front of you in this particular item is merely to approve a contract that we do not even have to use if we don't move our juveniles out of our facility, but provides us that backup for a place to put our juveniles in the event that we either don't have enough staffing to safely operate our juvenile facility, in the event that the board closes our juvenile facility, or in the event we need to repurpose our juvenile facility during the COVID-19 crisis.
Thank you, Manager Miller. So I understand. So what's happening is this is basically allowing the train to start going down the track, and you did brief us as into what's going to happen with the closing of the facility, and we all talked about it, and we all have some sort of a semi-agreement. And so I just want to make sure that we will actually only be paying for Santa Fe County juveniles to get transported if needed to Farmington.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Garcia, if Rio Arriba County would like us to transport their juveniles and we're going that way, we would likely try to have some kind of transportation agreement with them. Wouldn't make sense for us to pick up too many other juveniles unless they're actually on the way. But we would have a transport team that is not our sheriff's deputies, would be detention officers. And we counted that in our estimate, that if we had a group of transportation officers, in addition to how many juveniles we have averaged over the last several years that were Santa Fe County juveniles, we would still save approximately $1.5 million to $1.7 million a year.
So really quick, so if for lack of better terms, if little Johnny so-and-so gets arrested in Rio Arriba County, and who's going to pay for the little individual or the juvenile to get transported to San Juan County?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Garcia, as it stands right now, Rio Arriba County is responsible for Rio Arriba County juveniles. If Rio Arriba County wanted to enter into a contract with us, that could be possible, but as it stands right now, all other jurisdictions besides City of Santa Fe and Santa Fe County, which are Santa Fe County juveniles, that's all we are responsible for transporting and paying the per diem for.
Thank you, Manager Miller. And then another couple of, answers that I need is why San Juan County and not Bernalillo County? Because in reading in the paper, Bernalillo County has the most top-of-line juvenile facility. They've spent millions and millions of dollars into Bernalillo County. So why are we not contracting with Bernalillo? Because it's a little bit less of a trip to go to Bernalillo than it is to San Juan. So I'm just asking that.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Garcia, we actually are engaged in negotiations with Bernalillo County. We sent a request to both Bernalillo County manager. I sent it personally, both Bernalillo County manager and San Juan County manager, relative to engaging in a contract either at a per diem rate or a guaranteed bed provision. Both counties came back and said they didn't want to do a guaranteed bed. Both counties came back and said they would be willing to do a per diem rate, but San Juan County Commission approved their contract approximately 2.5 weeks ago or 2 weeks ago and sent it to us last week. And then Bernalillo County responded to me that they would enter into a contract with us, but they couldn't do it till July 1st. They also have renovations scheduled. And so they have some concerns with capacity while they're going through the renovations.
Thank you, Manager Miller. Just as for the other commissioners to know, we're actually going to be making a big policy decision. I know what the contract is about. And so this is starting the train to get it going down the track. And so one of the other things is, this is a big, huge policy, as Director Cedillo knows and Manager Miller knows, as into taking juveniles out of their area. And so have we checked with the juvenile probation and parole or the judges that actually sentence these juveniles? Are they okay with it? Do we have an opinion from them?
I'm going to let Director Cedillo answer that question because he's had quite a few conversations with all the entities involved.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Garcia, I've had some discussions with the Chief Judge of the Juvenile, Judge Marlowe, and CYFD. We had a collaborative meeting once and an individual meeting with the judge as well. They understand, both of them understand what Santa Fe County has tried to achieve. So they're well versed. I've been keeping good communication with them about if we go this direction, this is what we would be doing. As well as the sheriff too. The sheriff and I have had conversations regarding this with his command staff about the transportation component of it as well.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner, I don't know if Commissioner Garcia done?
No, I'm not done yet. Thank you.
I would like to make a request. I would really like to see people speaking. I understand that you need to see the agenda, but I would also really like to see when Manager Miller is speaking or Pablo Cedillo. So that is part of the reason why we're doing video. So I would just like to request that we can toggle back and forth between the agenda and
Mr. Chair, that's fine. We can put everybody on the page. I get it. So put whoever's talking on the page. But so some of the other questions I have is, so they're well versed in what's happening, Director Cedillo. So are they okay with this?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Garcia, there was no opposition whatsoever from the judges. They actually indicated that they understand the financial component of it as well. And right now at the time, as everybody is having video visitations, they'll continue to have those video visitations in San Juan County. CYFD, they were had a few questions in regards to the transportation of outside counties other than Santa Fe. And as Manager Miller did indicate, if the other counties would like to enter into a transportation agreement, I think Santa Fe County would have to look at that as well.
Thank you, Director Cedillo. So then there's not going to be any repercussion from any judges or juvenile probation as into Santa Fe County actually moved our juveniles and so on and so forth. Do you feel comfortable with that, for me saying that?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Garcia, as far as my discussions, I do feel comfortable about it.
Thank you. A couple of other questions I have is in medical. So the county is going to be providing let's call it cost measures for medical. So who's monitoring whether or not these juveniles are actually getting the proper medical, if needed, treatment out there in San Juan, hopefully in Bernalillo County? But because we have a lot of stuff that's happening at our jail. There's always his answer, her answer, and the right one. So I just don't want that to happen with our juveniles so many miles away from Santa Fe County.
Mr. Chair, Mr. Garcia, San Juan County has an excellent facility They are accredited through our New Mexico Association of Counties. They have actually, they just sent me a form yesterday on the COVID-19 protocol that they have. And it's pretty stringent. It's pretty comparable to ours, which is pretty stringent as well. So I'm very comfortable about that. And I would have a monitor go down to San Juan County and just see how our kids are doing at any time.
So how often, Director Cito, would that monitor go down to San Juan County?
Well, at the beginning, I think we should go down there a few times a month just to see how everybody's doing. But as I indicated, I mean, our count in Santa Fe County has been pretty low. And throughout the state, I mean, there's 266 beds in the state of New Mexico, and they're averaging 126 detainees for the state of New Mexico right now. So as County Manager Miller indicated, we've had 3 Santa Fe County kids for probably over a couple months.
But you guys are refusing kids.
Excuse me, who's the gentleman on the line?
That's Sam Chavez, asking Council 18. I couldn't hold it back. There's a lot of things that are going on here that I don't know if the commission is well aware of or not, but they're telling us one thing and we're saying something completely different. So I just had to do that.
The audio is not very clear. I
Mr.
couldn't
Chair?
understand the content.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I think that you will quickly lose control of this meeting if somebody can just bust in and start talking. The chair, Mr. Chavez, the chair is aware that you're here and you will be called upon accordingly.
Thank you, Manager Miller. I appreciate that for giving us some great guidance in that, because I totally follow you. And in regards to, let's see what other questions I have here. So just really quick. So let's assume a juvenile needs to be taken as soon as he gets arrested tonight. Our facility is closed. Does he get transported that exact night to San Juan or any other contracting services that we have, or is he kind of detained in an area of the YDP? Do we know that yet?
Mr. Chair,
the booking process of an individual who is being arrested, and of course CYFD is the only person that can authorize detainment of a juvenile. So, and that is, we try to do it effectively and efficiently. So that individual will be brought in through the adult back sally port and through our EM, electronic monitoring entrance. And it separates sight and sound from the adult population in the back. And we have a process of where they will only go in if it's empty, and we can empty that pretty quickly. We average about the peak times for incarceration of juveniles has been about 4 o'clock in the afternoon all the way up to 1 o'clock in the morning. Mostly it's the latter than the earlier. And then our biggest time for EM is between the hours of 6 a.m. and 8 a.m. And then again from 12 to, I believe it was 3 o'clock. But we would have a process on making sure there is no adult clients in there getting hooked up on their EM devices. That way we can have our medical department come in and do an assessment on them really quickly instead of them driving all the way down to YDP, which would be empty. And so we would have a medical personnel go through one door, that's it. Our booking would be right there. The paperwork would be sent to San Juan County. So they've been medically assessed, paperwork sent down and authorized to go there by San Juan County. And then we would transport them over there. So that transport team would be there as well.
Thank you, Director Cito. The reason why I was asking the questions is because I want to make sure and clear to the public and on record that we are definitely in communication with CYFD and juvenile probation. And just to make sure that the public understands that all we are doing is when a juvenile goes into our facility, we are just holding him. We do not make the decisions for the juvenile. It is up to CYFD as well as juvenile probation. But thank you for answering the questions. I have no further questions, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Garcia. Is there any other questions from other commissioners? No? Commissioner, I'm just going to go through the commissioners real quick. Commissioner Hanson, any additional questions?
Yes, I have a question.
Oh, Commissioner Moreno, go ahead, sir.
In my experience, we annually go to the big jail and the juvenile facility, and that's a constitutional requirement. And are we able to go to San Juan and inspect their jail?
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner
Pablo Cedillo, we'll go to Pablo Cedillo. Manager Miller.
We will
Go ahead,
be
sir.
inspecting their jail just like other entities that we hold in our facilities. Come and do surprise visits at any time. We have a good relationship with the administrator, both at Bernalillo County and at San Juan County. So I don't think that would be a big issue. And as I indicated before, I can assign a monitor to go and check on those individuals and walk through the facility as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Moreno.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Commissioner Manager Miller.
So they're required to do their inspections, and it's their facility. San Juan County Commission is required to do their inspections of their facilities. This is not our facility. So our Board of County Commissioners certainly would not be required to do an inspection of their facility. Just like we house for all kinds of entities at our adult and at our juvenile, they don't any commissions or governing bodies don't come and inspect our facilities. I would say, though, that I am sure if individual commissioners would like to go see the facility at any time, a tour of the facility or an inspection of, call it those terms, could be arranged. I don't think we could have our whole Board of County Commissioners go up and carry on a commission meeting inside of another facility. That would be a little challenging. I'm just speaking candidly about the practicality of that. I do think, as Pablo said, though, we have a good relationship with San Juan County. Obviously, we have a contractual relationship with San Juan County. They would likely entertain visits from us as requested.
Okay, thank you, Manager Miller. Go to Commissioner Hamilton. Did you have any concerns or comments?
No, I don't. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Okay, Commissioner Hanson.
No, I've asked my question. Thank you very much. I call for the vote.
Okay, so we have a call for the vote. So what's the pleasure of the board?
I made a motion to approve.
I believe.
And do we have a second? Who did the second?
I'll second.
I believe Commissioner Hamilton.
Yes, I believe.
I did have some other questions myself. I hadn't had the opportunity to ask any yet.
So just for clarity, I believe I was the one who originally seconded.
Okay, so we have a motion from Commissioner Hanson and second from Commissioner Hamilton. I did want to ask, if we have arrests that are made in the middle of the night, are we going to send these juveniles directly, drive them directly to San Juan in the middle of the night if it's 1 a.m, midnight? Or are we going to have like a holding tank that we hold them temporarily until we can send them out there? And then at that point, are we going to need to have some staff in that position as well?
Mr. Chair, to answer your questions, number one, we would be authorized through CYFD to have a holding placement for the juveniles up to 6 hours. But our objective is not to hold them longer than we have to. Our objective is, and this is why we moved it to EM, to go right through and expedite all the process and take them to San Juan County.
At 1 a.m, they will pretty much be taken to San Juan County immediately, and then when it's time for them to be seen by the judge, they'll bring them back. Is that correct?
Mr. Chair, we're working on that option, but yes, to your question, we would be responsible, just like the Sheriff's Department would be responsible for bringing them from placement to court. But we're working something out on a video arraignment at this time. But until then, we will transport them to court and back. Now, just one added thing for your comfort level is that if they're getting released, what San Juan County would probably do, and what I would probably do as well, is take them on an out count, or just they're out of their facility and pack them all up. So if they go back to Santa Fe and the judge releases them, we don't have to go all the way back to San Juan County. We can release them there. And we would probably work with CYFD to see if they're going to release them to their parents or what's going to happen at that point. Someone might be going to a placement for any reason, for substance abuse or anything, a program, I should say. So we would be in good coordination and good communication, hopefully, with CYFD.
Okay. And so I guess my other question is at this point, though, because we're going to be using the facility to house adult detainees in both of the areas now, in case we have to do a separation for the COVID-19 epidemic. Pandemic, so we're not going to have any cost savings at this point at this facility, right, doing that?
Mr. Chair?
Yes, Manager Miller?
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, I missed the last part of your question.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, let me answer that first, and then I'll turn to Pablo. First of all, we're not saying we are definitely going to use the juvenile. What we're saying is that this was an item that was going to come to you anyway. It happens to be coming to you at this meeting instead of the last meeting in April, because we actually are in a position to, now that we have this potential contract with San Juan County, we could start to move towards closing the facility. If we don't have a contract with any other entity, obviously we can't close the facility. But as you know, we're trying to build the budget for next year and having some decisions made so that we can move forward. The next item will get into the issues with employees and the union agreements. But at the end of the day, we were going to bring this to you regardless of COVID-19. The thought process behind the COVID-19 is if we do have an outbreak of it at our jail, and I hope to God we do not. I hope we don't have a single case at our adult detention facility. But if we have to start to spread individuals out into more spaces because we cannot isolate them or separate them from general population well enough at the adult facility, we want to be able to utilize the juvenile facility for that. Additionally, we could potentially need that facility for some other community need. it is our sincere hope that doesn't have to happen. But two things are happening right now, and that is in about a month, you will start to see a drop in our revenues, and I need to look at ways to cut expenditures through the end of this fiscal year. Plus, you'll be entertaining the budget through budget study sessions in April. If this is something that we actually know that the board is going to support, closing the juvenile facility, that's $1.5 million I don't have to find somewhere else in order to balance our budget. And when I say somewhere else, that's through other, our biggest recurring cost is salaries and benefits. So I'm trying to balance the need to make this decision, whether it's this BCC meeting or the next BCC meeting, to balance whether it makes sense for us to continue to operate a facility for 2 to 3 juveniles that costs us $2.5 to $3.5 million a year to operate. Additionally, we're not required to have a juvenile facility. Counties are not required to have a juvenile facility. And the conversation across the state, not just in Santa Fe County, is having some regional facilities. We made every effort to make Santa Fe County a regional facility, and we still only had about, with all the other entities that were booking youth at our facility, about 10 juveniles, maybe generating around $300,000 to $500,000 a year in income to help offset our $2.5 to $3.5 million worth of expenses. So, as Pablo said, Director Cedillo said, the number of juveniles being incarcerated now, it's a different environment than it was 10 years ago or even 5 years ago. We have consistently seen a drop in our juvenile population. And at some point, while this isn't a popular decision by any means, and not something we want to say, oh, Santa Fe County doesn't want to provide this service, but the cost of this service per juvenile that we serve is so lopsided. I'm not really sure how I could justify or recommend to the board that we continue keeping our facility open if we don't actually have a larger population.
Thank you, Dr. Miller. I think that that pretty much concludes my questions. I do have just a couple of quick comments. Relative to what we did discuss as far as if a juvenile gets arrested in the middle of the evening, and then by the next morning that juvenile will be in San Juan County, and just as far as the expense of what it's going to cost Santa Fe County. I think Commissioner Garcia brought that up as well, and even the liability of transporting these juveniles such a long distance. There's still things that I'm concerned with, but we have called for the vote, and so we have a motion from Commissioner Hanson and a second from Commissioner Hamilton. I'm going to go through a roll call vote. Commissioner Hamilton.
Yes.
Commissioner Hanson.
Yes.
Commissioner Moreno.
Yes.
Commissioner Garcia.
I'm sorry, did you ask me, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Commissioner Garcia.
Yeah. Yes, I'm okay with the contract and moving forward. But I hope we actually do bring back some other contracts, some other communities, as for Bernalillo County, and as Manager Miller mentioned, thank everybody out there that the juvenile population is not increased, because it's not a good thing. But yes, my vote is yes.
Okay, thank you for Commissioner Garcia. And I'm going to vote yes as well, but I really think that the next item should have been previous to this one maybe, but we'll go on to the next item. So we have 5 yeses to approve the lease or our agreement with San Juan County.
Yes, I understand the concern about the order of the items, but without a contract to house our juveniles elsewhere, the second item was, that's the reason we haven't brought this subject to you previously. Because if we didn't have a place to house the juveniles, then there was no point in having a conversation about whether or not we close the facility. As I said in the last item, we do not have to actually utilize that contract, but having that contract in place allows us that flexibility to house our juveniles at San Juan County. The current item, or item 4D on your agenda, which I'll just read that caption, is to request approval of the closure of the Youth Development Program and the Youth Development Program layoff plan. And I'm going to just start this, but Pablo, Director Cedillo, and Dr. Sonia Quintana from HR, and Attorney Greg Schaefer are on the line, as well as Sam Chavez is also on the line, and did let him know he requested an opportunity to speak to the board and express his concern. So after I give a general overview, Mr. Chair, I'd like you to ask Mr. Chavez for his comments and then open it up for discussion. As I said, this is a request for approval of the closure of the YDP and the YDP layoff plan. At the January 28th Board of County Commissioners meeting, the BCC did to bring forward a closure plan for the YDP. And since that time, Santa Fe County staff have negotiated the previous approved contract between Santa Fe County and the San Juan County for the housing of juveniles. We also, as I stated earlier, began negotiations with Bernal County for contract with a hope for effective date of July 1, 2020. We also had Children, Youth and Families Department, or CYFD, inspect and tentatively approve the county's plan for temporarily holding youth detainees within the electronic monitoring building for the purposes of arranging transportation and or release. And as we stated in the previous item, for up to 6 hours, and negotiated a closure layoff plan with AFSCME 1413 and AFSCME 1413 medical unions, which represent employees who would be affected by a layoff. Staff is now requesting approval of the closure of the YDP and YDP layoff plan, and the layoff plan will only be implemented to the extent affected employees decline offers of employment to the average stay of those juvenile residents is relatively short. As you know, this is one of our oldest facilities, and we have an aging facility with an estimated deferred maintenance of over $10 million as of a few years ago. Largely, we have fixed costs that are not, that don't vary materially depending on the YDP population. So having 3 juveniles versus having 12 juveniles is relatively the same fixed cost. And our staff turnover, as noted in January, we have had a great deal of difficulty recruiting staff to all of our detention facilities, but in particular, our youth detention facility. So we have a lot of staff turnover and vacancies associated with running a detention facility. Mr. Chair, you mentioned the liability of transport juveniles, but we have an even greater liability of housing those juveniles at our facility. These were items that we discussed at length in the January 21st memorandum that is attached and in our packet. This is what came to you previously at the BCC meeting in January. And then the additional item that has brought this even more to the forefront is the COVID-19 emergency has provided additional impetus for us to move forward with closure on YDP. It's added an urgency to the significant risk relative to the spread of COVID-19. The Public Safety Department is actively making plans for YDP facility. Potentially, I say potentially, as I said earlier, it is our hope that this does not have to happen, but to house adults from our adult detention facility who are being isolated or quarantined, in particular if they are diagnosed. We fortunately have tested 12 inmates to date, and all of those have come back negative. But also, a large housing facility may prove valuable for other uses during the COVID-19 pandemic, such as this one, is the homeless population. And we have been called upon as to whether our facility would be available for use to assist the city with the homeless population. Clearly, with juveniles in the facility, that would not be possible. Third, we estimate closing YDP would save approximately $1.7 million annually. And that's significant at any time, but it's even more significant, as I mentioned earlier, given the economic emergency that's being caused by the spread of the COVID-19 and the efforts to slow the spread of it and shutting down just about every facility and all economic activity. Our closure plan is as follows. There are 11 employees that are potentially affected by the closure of YDP in the following positions. We have a YDP shift supervisor, case manager, life skills workers 2, life skills worker 1, and 2 nurses. The county and ASME 1413 and 1413M have negotiated the following general timeline relative to the YDP closure and potential layoff of employees who refuse job offers for other county positions. On March 31st, 2020, affected employees would return their right of first refusal questionnaire, which the county will utilize to determine what job to offer the employee based upon their interests, minimum qualifications for the position, number of vacancies for the position, and seniority. April 3rd, 2020, the target date to make job offers to affected employees. Some positions, however, have testing, physical fitness, interview, and background check requirements that may not be completed by April 3rd. So then April 10th, 2020, deadline for affected employees to make a decision on job offers from the county if they receive a job offer on April 3rd. If the job offer is made after April 3rd, the employee will have 7 calendar days to make a decision on the job offer. On April 30th, 2020, employees who decline a job offer from the county will be laid off. The county currently has enough vacancies to offer each affected employee a job. In some cases, the vacant job pays more than the employee is currently making. In other cases, the vacant position may pay less. But everyone who wants to continue working for the county will have an opportunity to do so, though it may not be in their first job choice and may be at a lower initial salary. In that vein, it is worth noting that the collective bargaining agreement only requires the county to offer laid off employees positions with the same or lower midpoint salary range as that held at the time of the employee's separation. In order to ensure that all affected employees would receive a job offer and exchange for the union's agreement to waive the requirement that management provide the union with 30 days notice before presenting a layoff plan to the BCC, the county included jobs with a higher midpoint than the one that some employees currently have. Alternate facilities. For now, Santa Fe County youth detainees would be housed at the San Juan County Juvenile Services Center. It's important to note that this will not prevent in-person visitation that would have otherwise occurred. As I said, no visitation is currently being allowed at YDP or ADF during the COVID-19 emergency. In other words, youth are not currently receiving in-person visits at YDP. We have also begun negotiations with Bernalillo County to house the youth detainees at its facility. It has indicated that the county may be able to do so beginning on July 1st. The extent of its capacity to do so will depend upon the ongoing major renovation to its facility. With that, I stand for questions, but Mr. Chair, I would also like to suggest that you call on Mr. Sam Chavez.
Mr. Chair, I'm sorry, this is Greg Schaefer, and I apologize for interrupting. But I did want to note that since the memo was finalized, we did, working with the union, extend the deadline for the right of first refusal questionnaire to be returned tomorrow, April 1st, rather than today, March 31st. So I did want to correct that before we move on. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Attorney Schaefer. So, Mr. Chavez, do you want to address the commission now?
Yes, I would like to, because there were some things said that I think I should comment to. Okay, sir, go ahead. First of all, Mr. Chair, members of the board, ASME opposes the closure of the employees of the facility are important people to, to the county, to the public, and to, their families. They have great concerns about what's going to happen with their livelihoods going forward. There was mention of a transplant team. When we were speaking with the director, public safety director, and the HR director, the transport team was completely taken off the table. That job position is not even out there no more. That was something that is not there no more. The same way with the employees having to, being able to transition to the adult facility. On one meeting, yes, it was they were all, if they could go work as a correctional officer, but then the next day, all of that was off the table itself. We have been negotiating. Negotiating, I guess, means, one day they tell you one thing, we have a date of this date to submit your response to us, and the next day we're being called, and we're being told, no, we made a mistake. It is tomorrow. The date of the right of first refusal paperwork to be submitted by the employees, I was given a call and it was told to me that it was going to be on the 31st. When I forwarded the right of first refusal to the local president and to another employee there to distribute among the staff, I told him it was going to be on the 31st. Santa Fe County chose to extend that timeline on their own. The timeline to us was the 31st. I submitted a list of or some documents for you guys to review. And in them documents, there is a letter from the employees. I worked with the employees, correctional officers, nurses, people that work there at the YDP. And, this